Welcome to New Frontier Cast. On today's podcast, we'll be talking about metals and their future purpose in the industrial update specifically. Last time we did a more general view of just the future of New Frontier Craft. This time we're just focusing in on the industrial update because that's the next big update in the future, and we've still got a lot of ideas we got to go through. So this one is just metals and their future uses, and not all metals are going to have a future use in the industrial update. So some of them I'm just going to say there's no future plans for it, although I might use it for some reason. Or I'll likely use all metals in some form in the industrial update, even if it's really minor. What we're talking about today is kind of short-sighted because I'm mostly focusing on how they'll be connected into the power, at least just when I'm talking. The actual machines that we will have in the future are not solid ideas yet. Like, I have no idea what the metals that will go into, like, a wind turbine. I have no idea what specific metals I'll use for that yet. So, we're still lacking a lot of information, but the main focus is how we'll be transporting electricity from one area to another. So we'll go from the most common metals to the least common in their uses, at least as far as I can see. Starting with copper, people have kind of referred to copper as the new iron because it's everywhere and it's used a lot in building, and it's used a lot right now because it's used in a decent amount of tools. But it's kind of half true. This is half of the new iron. The other half is aluminum. Copper and aluminum together are going to build a lot of stuff in the industrial update. Copper specifically will be used in transporting electricity, obviously, because it's used in wires. And it's just going to be so abundant that that is going to be the most commonly used wire. With redstone, and people have asked the question, well, what's the difference between redstone and electricity? Well, electricity will provide power, will provide the ability for your machines to run. Redstone will be logic. That's not going to power your machines. It will be able to turn on and off your machines if you, let's say, you want to turn on your nuclear reactor, but you want to have all these different systems online or sometimes offline for lower power. Redstone will be doing that stuff, while electricity would be what's coming out of the nuclear reactor. So for tin, it's likely going to have small random uses throughout the entire industrial update because it's common and is used, at least in real life, for being like an anti-corrosion substance. So it'll be used a lot in, like, maybe as a battery casing, as a casing for other random tools or machines that are in the water or something. For coal, as it usually is in any mod, coal is going to be a power source. It'll be good for generators. Charcoal won't be as good, but it'll still be good for generators. Zinc will be similar to tin, as it might be used in random little things throughout the industrial update. But it'll be more important in batteries and power storage. Lapis, as far as I can see, is still just going to be a blue dye in the industrial update. It's not going to have any weird crafting recipes that include lapis. Like I know in, I believe, industrial craft, like this micro circuit has lapis as one of its pieces that need to make a micro circuit, and I just think that's silly because it's just a blue dye. For aluminum, and again, this is the other half of the iron, aluminum will have a greater focus on actually making the machines. Now, this is a really big thing that it's on the wiki, but I don't know if you guys are paying attention to this part of, or if you saw it in the wiki. Keep your aluminum in its ore form. Once we hit the industrial update and there's going to be an electrical furnace, the electrical furnace will produce 3 or 4 times more aluminum out of a piece of ore. So once you start hitting some industrialism after you've been surviving for a little while in a world, you'll be able to produce a lot more aluminum than you could with just a stone furnace. And that will cause, like, sort of the industrial boom, as the aluminum will be a basic component in just building any machine block. Lead will also be used in batteries. This will be used for much bigger batteries than the thing that zinc might be used in. Like a zinc battery, or some battery based off of with zinc, would be a smaller item, and you could just you would haul it around basically, and it would hold its own energy. Whereas a lead battery would be a block, but it would store way more energy just in one area. So that inspiration is from car batteries. Car batteries use lead as one of their biggest components to store energy. And lead will also be used in nuclear power. And you're going to hear a lot about nuclear reactors because that's the biggest thing I've been thinking about recently. And that's also going to be like the end game power source. So it's going to sound like nuclear reactors, nuclear reactors, nuclear reactors. But that's just because there's going to be so many components that go into a nuclear reactor to create it. Whereas, again, that's going to be end game. A lot of these metals will be used in making random other things for power generation that are not big nuclear reactors, like, again, like a wind turbine generator, just a chemical generator, maybe a geothermal generator. And you'll hear me give some ideas on metals here and there for those types of generators. Bismuth might be used in maybe some form of geothermal generator, but in real life it's used in just kind of room temperature geothermal generation, so it's kind of weak. So I might end up using lead, which is more commonly used in geothermal generation, but bismuth might also make its way into nuclear reactors because it also likes to absorb radiation. And another thing right after that is boron. That also might be used in nuclear reactors. I don't have any other plans for that at the moment. Silver will be an interesting wire. Silver will be more efficient than copper, but you don't find silver as often. So when you're trying to make like some power storage really efficient, let's say you have a bunch of solar panels, but they're all just giving you a little bit of power, you'd probably be using silver wires to connect them all, just to be more efficient with trying to harvest as much energy as you can out of something that just constantly gives a little bit of energy. Whereas just transporting a lot of power long distances, that'll be copper. For chrome, it's probably not going to have any more uses in the industrial update alone, because its current purpose in making steel is already really important, and steel itself will be used throughout the industrial update, just as a heavy and durable metal in machines that need that type of metal. Nickel will be used in more batteries. It will also be used to create magnets. There will be a new metal added into the industrial update called alnico, which is it's a metal in real life. It's a really magnetizable material. So magnets will have a really big purpose in the game, as it will be basic power generation for motors. Motors need magnets, and so that will both be used to create power out of motion. So like a water turbine would use a motor, and at the same time something that runs on its own, like maybe a minecart with a motor in it, it'll be used to transform electricity into movement again. So motors are going to be pretty important. So that said, magnets are going to be pretty important. For platinum, that has no plans at the moment. For tungsten, that will be used to make just mass-produced light bulbs. These will not be the most efficient light bulb. The more efficient type of light bulb will be made with silicon, and those will actually be, in a sense, the LED of New Frontier Craft. And that sounds a little silly because the style of New Frontier Craft is mostly going to surround kind of an older time of industrialism, and suddenly you'll have like an LED. That's going to be like the one thing that sticks out, but I'm going to try to make it just a more efficient light bulb with silicon, because like the sort of white and blue lights used today that are in LED form use silicon. So it'll just be the higher efficiency light bulb. Silicon will also be used in solar power, as that's what solar panels are mostly made out of. And they might be a transistor or used sometimes in redstone, because that is the primary component in a computer. but I'm not quite sure about that yet. I don't know if I want to add in like a really basic computer or not in the new Frontier craft. Iron will still be highly used in the industrial update. Iron will be most used in rails and transporting items from that, because that's what I'll be doing with mine carts, is using them as the main transportation of anything, items, people, mobs. I don't care. It's just I just think mine carts need a lot more use in Minecraft because I think they're cool. And it's just part of the Minecraft aspect, the mine cart. So cobalt will also be used in magnets because it's the Alnico. It'll be part of the Alnico. Gold will sometimes be used in electrical connections, probably when there's a lot of power going through something. You'll use gold, like more than copper power, like a lot of power. Gold will be used because it's also really good at being anti-corrosive in real life and can coat big things really well in a very thin manner. So, and then you have magnetite that you find in the ground, which just gives you instant magnets. Titanium is kind of a weird one. If I ever add an aircraft, which I'm not quite sure, but maybe, I'm not opposed to it at all, because titanium is kind of a rare metal, so it's kind of expensive. But if you want to, you can make an aircraft out of it that has like a gas-powered engine on it, and it would just let you slowly glide through the air. It wouldn't make you fly really fast or anything. It'd be kind of like an ancient airplane, before even like the 1900s. So like an airplane made out of wood and some titanium, I guess. And it's also a metal in real life used as basically a steel, but will also get some uses in the industrial update, definitely, because in real life it's basically steel but lighter in terms of its durability, and I don't know quite yet what I'd use it for. Maybe wind turbines, but I'm not quite sure there. Anthracite is just the super rare coal that works really well, so it'll just be like coal in that aspect. Gems do not have any plans for the industrial update. Diamond will be kind of a surprise. You'll be able to produce diamond in the industrial update by doing some extreme compression on probably coal or anthracite, and it's going to take a lot of energy. So basically, once you have nuclear reactors and you have a ton of energy that you can put out of those things, you'll be able to produce cheap diamond. Not quickly though. It's not going to be easy, but you can produce diamond. And diamond will be used in your auto miners, auto harvesters, just things where it would basically be a tool being used, but not. It would be a block that would do the mining or harvesting or whatever. Now, in terms of mining, I have my own idea of, don't have the buildcraft like that auto miner in mind where it just excavates this huge area. What I have more in mind is something that would go on rails and build its own rails as it mines deeper into the ground, or at just like one Y level, it will just mine horizontally in a 3x3, just slowly, as long as it has more rails in its inventory and coal or oil or whatever in its power. So, yeah. Uranium is, of course, going to be the main fuel of a nuclear reactor, and you only need a little bit of uranium to power a nuclear reactor for a little while, but the nuclear reactor will need a lot of the other materials I've been talking about, boron, lead, maybe bismuth, and just some weird setup around it to cool the nuclear reactor so that it doesn't go boom. Osmium does not have any current plans for the industrial update. Osmium in real life is a very, very durable metal, but it's hardly even used in real life alone, so I'm not quite sure what I would use that for in the industrial update if I do. Brass and bronze are unlikely going to have a use. Brass might get more use in the industrial update as some form of a pipe, but probably not. So that's the general overview. It's a little, again, kind of jumping around with ideas, still kind of ironing these out, just giving it to you guys, see what you guys think. And also with our guest here, Space, or you might know him as SpaceFrontier. So how's it going, Space?
Hey man, what's up?
So, you have any questions prepared or ideas?
I mean,
bounce
yeah,
off
I
of
mean
that?
that's amazing, dude. I haven't heard a lot of that, so that's my first time hearing that.
Okay.
I guess my biggest question is what kind of, I mean, we've talked about this before, but not much. What kind of style would this be in?
Yeah, this is, as I said, I do want this to be kind of a, like, the biggest thing you'll have to light your minds with is the tungsten light bulb, so it'll kind of feel like late 1800s, early 1900s. Once you've really got it going, in terms of just industry, but it's definitely not going to look like a shiny metal shop. It's going to be more like an old industrial shop.
Yeah, so I think from what I've heard, it's more like a 1800s technology to maybe the 50s, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. So again, there's going to be a couple of things that stick out, like solar panels that really wasn't there back then. So it's kind of what I kind of see it as is as if someone like us who went through college for engineering and knows how to build these things got lost in the wilderness suddenly and just
Right.
slowly built up his own civilization. So you're going to have a lot of technologies that's old that you can't make because you just don't have that thing. But sometimes you can make something like an LED, which is just going to use some sort of advanced crafting thing that uses power. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So would it be more kind of like a primitive survival style?
Yeah, I mean, I'll aim for that. But of
So like
course,
wires going everywhere, bits of wood holding it
yeah,
together.
wires
Duct
will
tape.
be
Yeah.
one thing I definitely need to. I'm still thinking about, and as a big thing we could chat about right now is just the future idea for lighting. I've said that I want torches to go out eventually.
Right.
You
I
could
actually
relight.
agree to that.
Yeah, you could relight them, with just some basic materials. Like you could use a flint and steel, and that would last a while, or you could just craft a couple of sticks together and make a basic relighter that lasts like 5 tries. But once you have power, you can light your mines with light bulbs, and just as long as you have power, your mines will be constantly lit with light bulbs. But
I mean, I remember in Alpha at some point, Notch said himself he was going to add lanterns, like, iron
yeah, I
lanterns.
do
Yeah,
want to add a lantern too. So then, if you're basically your mine ran out of power and you're down there, you could bring out your lantern and try to return to the surface, but that's gonna stink.
yeah. Would that be kind of like holding it in your hand?
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah. I'm not quite sure I'll code that quite yet, but we'll see.
It's been done before, so I'm sure it's not
Yeah.
impossible. Yeah. Something else that was mentioned by a player on the server, I can't remember who, but someone said, would oil be used in lanterns?
Yeah. That would probably be what
Yeah.
you'd use in lanterns.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting concept.
Yeah, again, I didn't even think about that earlier. I should have said that, but yeah, oil will. I think I accidentally skipped over oil. Oil will be used in just cheap chemical power generation. So once you find a thing of oil, it's going to be like, yes, this will provide me power for a little while that I don't have to worry about anything else. I've still been trying to think of how you'd like maybe pump oil into somewhere, or you just go down there with a whole bunch of buckets. I don't know, but
I mean,
yeah,
dungeons are more of a prominent thing now, I've noticed. Because it's
prominent.
really. Yeah, sorry, dungeons.
Yeah, I know. What do you
Dungeon
mean
loot.
by prominent?
Because you get much better loot now. So they're
Yeah.
worth finding. And one thing you get is buckets. You get quite a lot of buckets.
Hmm.
So if that was somehow part of the whole recipe for making stuff with oil, like a bucket of oil, I know that's already in the game, but
Oh,
if that-
you know what I could do? I've always been trying to think of like, what if I added a whole bunch of like pipes into the game and like pumps into the game? Because I'm taking inspiration from basically, I believe it's Buildcraft or Industrial Craft in that aspect. Then I was like, I just had the idea. No, what I should do is have a minecart that you can put liquid into,
yeah,
and you can like
absolutely.
ship that up to the surface and use that. Oh, there we go. Again, a minecart solution. I love minecarts. They'll definitely have some better uses in the future.
Because in your own vanilla world or vanilla server, they're quite useful. But in a server where you can warp, teleport to home,
Yeah, exactly.
they don't really have a use.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's a
actually
real
something
shame.
I really like about single players. Just you use minecarts way more often. I
Yeah.
remember back in my beta 1.7.3 world, I had this huge minecart rail just connecting all the little bases I made throughout the game. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
with booster
Yep.
rails. Yeah, with the cart boost. I mean, a
So
little bug.
one thing to jump back to was I was starting to talk about torches going out.
Right.
That's going to be the biggest. That's basically going to be the 1.8.5 of just testing stuff, is trying to make the game not hard, where you'd have to relight torches but have to power your caves with light. The bigger thing I still need to get an idea for, that I don't know what to do yet, is lighting your caves with light bulbs. I don't want you to have to just put copper everywhere. So I've still been trying to figure out what I would do for that. So I feel like I don't want to make the copper take up an entire block, or else you'd have to, like, if you want to do a 2x2, well, I guess you could just use torches for that, couldn't you? If you just did a little 2x2 trench in a direction and you wanted to light it with light bulbs, you'd have to put like so many extra blocks. So I was thinking about making light bulbs basically, like a torch, in the fact that you can just walk through them, and basically wires make them walk through like a torch. So
Yeah, I think you would have to do that. Otherwise, it might be hard to get around.
yep.
Yeah.
I've also thought of making it so that you can automatically place down wire as long as you like right click, and it would basically just place it on the ground below you, so then you can walk through without being like dun, 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 clicking, like, for those massive mines that you make. You could just hold down right click and walk through, and it'd place down copper wire, or something like that. So then it's not as annoying.
Another thing to factor in would be how long would the torches last?
Yeah, that's another really big balancing component. I believe what I'm going to do is it would be a pretty long time, like maybe.
Yeah, it would have to be a long time. It would have to be at least enough time to get set up in your base to be safe.
I would go as far as to say is at least 2 full Minecraft days, if not like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say around 3 is what I would personally say.
yeah. But of course, we have no idea how much that might affect the game, so we'll have to do some testing there.
Yeah. Also, relighting it, that might be a problem because flint and steel currently uses actual steel, and getting
I
hold of
would-
chrome to make steel is a little bit hard in early game. I wouldn't say it's hard overall, but
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely give it, because it's flint and steel and it uses steel. It would have a lot more uses in the industrial update. I believe it has around 250 some uses right now, and I'd probably amp it up to like 500 just because steel.
yeah.
But yeah, just like if you craft like 2 sticks together, you'd get just a basic relighter that lasts for like four lights.
Oh, that's a very nice idea. Just 2 sticks. Yeah.
Yep. So then
It's
if you're in a
also in
mine
the,
and you have just a
primitive
bunch of
salt.
wood with you, you just go through, relight your torches if you wish. Another thing I'm going to do is when a torch goes out, it's not going to be totally dark, because that would just be such a huge troll. Like, you could have torches in the dark that you never really remembered that you put there, so they're just going to give off a little bit of light.
Just embers, kind of like burning slowly.
Yep. And I think that's actually going to look really cool when you go into a cave and it's just like ember torches. I think that would
Yeah.
look pretty.
Yeah. So would that be something like the redstone torches, light level?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
brighter. Just a little bit
Oh,
brighter.
more. Okay, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, redstone torches are really dim. So
Yeah, very. I think the dimmest thing is the blue mushroom right now.
actually, the brown mushroom gives off a light of 4.
Oh, really?
Light value of 4. Yeah, have you ever noticed that if you
Yeah,
turn
I
it on?
have. Yeah.
Yep.
I never thought about it though. I thought it was a lighting bug.
Nope.
That's weird.
Yeah, I could also make something where like, that wouldn't make too much sense. Maybe I could make a relighter where you'd use coal as the main thing to relight. I was about to be like, you could relight a torch with a torch, but like then you would just have an infinite amount of relights, so that wouldn't really work out.
I mean, you could just break a torch and replace a lit one. That's
Yeah, you could do
one
that.
of the ways to do it. Yeah.
That's very true.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I wanted to mention. You were talking about like a crawling system, like a crawler that would mine horizontally,
Yep.
and it would use rails, right?
Yeah.
But in my mind, I just see grabbing a bucket of water, putting it on the ground, and then just picking up all the rails that pop off, and just putting the rails back inside the machine.
I mean, I guess you could do that, but you'd have to just be right there by it the entire time.
Okay, so it's a kind of it needs maintenance kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it would continuously place down rails as long as it's in its inventory. I mean, if you just want to make the thing do the mining for you and you're that lazy and you just sit behind it, giving it the rails it puts down back. What I kind of imagine is, I mean, you could totally do that. I would not be opposed to that, but what I imagine is you just putting in like 3 stacks of rails and setting it off on its mission, going back to the surface and doing stuff for a while and coming down and having this long, tunnel built out with rails on it. You can just throw on your minecart, get launched down it, and go back to where your crawler was.
So would it also place booster tracks, maybe?
No, I think it'll just place normal rails.
Okay,
this is a case where I really want to make that furnace minecart more effective.
I was just about to say, yeah, that gives finally
So
gives the use to the furnace, yeah.
Sit behind it and just launch it.
What's your opinion on maybe nerfing the use of charcoal, but making 1 log give you something like 4 charcoal? Because I feel like a lot of the time I'm relying on charcoal more than coal in NFC.
Okay, so you're saying because we're making more charcoal, you could make more torches, but its use as a power generation
kind of.
would be weaker.
Say you halved the length it would burn for, right, in a furnace, but instead it would give you 4.
In a brick furnace, not a normal furnace.
Right. Yeah. But it would give you 4. 1 log would give you 4 charcoal. So you're basically doubling it and then having quadruple the amount of actual items to make torches. Because that would also mean that coal is a direct upgrade, but you have way more to make torches.
Let's see here. How? What I could do, because I do want coal to just be a superior thing in general to charcoal, is make coal produce more torches. And,
yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah, and I mean, I could make both coal and charcoal produce more torches now that they're both a little bit rarer. And maybe that's a simple solution.
Yeah.
And then just put anthracite to like 16 and then have coal and charcoal craft 8 per set. So maybe that's a simple solution to that, because I've also been kind of low on torches, not all the time, but just doing that I think would make it basically jump back to where it was in vanilla, where you could just produce a ton of torches.
Because in vanilla I feel like coal is too powerful. You start off with charcoal maybe on your first day, but the second you hit a coal vein, you're done. I mean that's consistently hit more coal over and over again.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of its intention. I don't want you to have to fight for coal, in a sense.
Yeah. But I feel like when I have coal, I use it, but I run out of coal before I find the next vein, so I will use charcoal until I have coal.
Okay, so you're saying it's kind of more of a wavy thing, where like you'll use up your coal a little too quickly.
Yeah, I'll use one after the other.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll have to think about that one on, just so then you don't have to keep using all your coal for torches.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It just means that you have to spend a bit of extra time getting a bunch of logs. It just kind of artificially slows down the game. It doesn't really you don't really feel like you're progressing much if you just keep on cutting down trees.
True.
Yeah, that's probably a very easy fix. I just thought I should just mention it. It's a
Yeah,
minor thing.
I mean, it is an easy fix, which is why that's a good point. So
Yeah. And my other question was, will there ever be any ores or metals that are simply rare for the sake of being rare? As in, they have no use; they're just a currency, essentially.
I mean, gold kind of looks like it's going to end up being that. I mentioned that it might be used in electrical connections, but even then, that's like not much. Gold has already been kicked out of being used in a clock, so gold might be that, where you might just be able to get an ingot of gold and craft it into 64 gold coins.
Yeah,
and use
that's
that
kind
as a
of what I was
currency.
going to ask. That's what I was going
Yeah.
to ask next. If there will be a gold system.
In fact, I could even add
currency,
in. Oh, actually, gold coins would be an amazing idea, because what I could
Yeah,
do then
right.
is actually the issue with that would be I don't know how you'd craft a 64 gold coins back into a gold ingot.
You could just smelt them as well.
Smelt the. Well,
Wait, I see what you mean. Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, that wouldn't
just,
work.
just trying to transform it back would be kind of difficult. Maybe in the industrial update, I could have a compressor, and you just put in 64 gold coins and go back to a gold ingot.
Or maybe what about nine coins in a brick furnace?
Ooh, I mean, even just 9 coins in a crafting table, I don't know if you'd really
Yeah,
need
also
a brick
that's
furnace.
fine.
So 1 ingot to 9, it would be kind of like a gold nugget, I guess.
And it's base 9, so it's a bit difficult to barter with it. It would be better if it was around 10, I guess.
Yeah, so another issue I've found with gold recently is now that for a while I was getting kind of inaccurate results because people didn't know that gold would spawn into like a really big cloud, so I thought
Yeah.
gold was really rare. But now it's
Yeah, I had
not.
the same
I've
problem.
noticed it's
Yeah.
not as rare as it used to be. How much gold have you gotten in the server in terms, like, compared to something else?
Oh man, let me check. Quite a few. Look at that quickly.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to wrap up the podcast soon too.
I think that was most of my questions, except maybe what was the use of platinum? I don't think you mentioned.
Platinum is
Yeah.
is basically useless in the industrial update. Platinum is going to be one of those also where it's just kind of like it's there.
Yeah.
I actually did have a purpose I added it in for, but I believe over time I was like, you know what? Actually, I don't know if I want to add that in the new Frontier craft. So it's back to being kind of useless. It will have more purpose as a weapon and armor. It'll basically be cheap osmium in terms of an armor. It'll be really heavy and protect you a lot, is what osmium will be, and platinum will be that. It's just, it will not protect you for as long, but still protect you a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite nice. It could also be, I guess you could push it as a currency, but I feel like that's
Yeah, it's
maybe taking
I just
it too
feel like
far.
gold is going to be more of that than
Yeah, gold fits that. a lot
platinum.
better. Yeah. So I've just checked. I have around 130 gold to around 10 diamonds.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot, right?
I remember back in the original New Frontier craft, like it was really rare. But once you figure out how to mine out the cloud, like you get a lot of gold. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do about that at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I have an idea. I could have it so that when you smelt a gold ore, it only gives you a coin. So then you have to start making
like
coins
a
into
little
ingots.
bit. Yeah,
And
that's a
that
good
would that
idea.
would really nerf how much gold you find in the game. But
would
unfortunately, now
also
that I
mess
say
up
that,
the
people
currency.
are going to go after the gold and make as much
Yeah,
as possible.
exactly.
So we'll see about that.
So, I mean, that's already happened with the jukebox. I'm not the only one that made a bunch of jukeboxes before
Yeah.
rubies were added.
So
But yeah, I think that's it for my questions.
all
That's
right.
some good insight, though. That's a lot of things I never knew about.
Yeah, I mean, they always this is stuff that I think about throughout my days and never even say half of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that wraps up this podcast. So thanks for being with me, Space.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm sure we'll be on a podcast again eventually. So
Yeah, it'd be quite nice.
yeah. So I hope to see you on that server.